Hi, I'm Annie from whyyousshouldlovemusic.com, and today we're going to be talking about Beneath the Skin by Of Monsters and Men. You were right, I'll move on, but my lungs feel so small, I couldn't breathe if I tried. Hungry for a kill, but this hunger, it is in you. Voices disappear when you were speaking in somber tune. I will be the one, and you're starving, you'll need it soon. Hungry for the kill, this hunger, it is in you. It is in you. I got so into it I lost my guitar. Album cover. How much do you love it? So much, me too. Same. Hashtag same. I gotta tone it down. Alright, let's try that again. Back of the album. Get a lot of minimalism here. Back of the album is super plain, just black and white. This is, of course, a gatefold, so on the inside you get all of the track symbols, which is very, very, very cool. I love how much thought and I was about to say symbolism. That would have been awkward because they're symbols, so of course it's symbolism. But I love how much thought they put into each track of this album. And this album is very unique. All right, I'll show you. Here's disc 1, and you'll notice that the sleeve is actually what makes up the album cover on the vinyl. Here we go. Disc 1. Ah, so beautiful. So here's side A of the record. It's gorgeous and clear and wonderful, and I love it. And it has the 3 symbols on it for the tracks. Instead of having a track list, it just has the symbols on it. And here is side B, which looks remarkably similar to the front, except for that it has different symbols. You'll notice the inside label is like a creamy color, ivory almost. And on this side, we have a completely different sleeve. And you've got all the lyrics on here, and of course the accompanying track symbols. Because if you're going to come up with a symbol for each track, you better use it a lot. Just saying. And then this disc, which has side C and B, has a black label. And it is equally gorgeous. And again, you get the track symbols rather than them listed. And here's side D. Now you'll notice, actually I'm not sure if the camera can see it, but on side D, the interior of the label is a little bit cracked open. And the reason for that is that when I got this, the center pressing wasn't cut very cleanly. And so it was actually had a film of clear vinyl over it. So I kind of had to break it open when I got this. I don't know if that is consistently a problem with this pressing or if that was just the one that I got. But just so you know, that happened. It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't mess up the sound quality or change or hurt the record in any way. But just to note that and to let you know. Also, these vinyl discs are quite heavy. I think that they're on the heavy side of a medium. They're not quite audiophile quality, but they're approaching that. So they're very sturdy, very durable. Another thing that I forgot to say about this album that is really weird. So you have the sleeve makes the album cover, which is, it's a little unusual, but it's not unheard of. What is very bizarre about this album is that it doesn't close in the middle. So if you try to put it in, while this is open, it will just keep falling through. So really, when you're putting the sleeves back in the pouch, you have to make sure that it's closed so that they don't fall through, which is kind of a strange little thing that happens, but there you go. Okay, let's get right into the album Of Monsters and Men. I love Of Monsters and Men. As you see, I had their other album already, and they're my favorite Icelandic folk alternative band of all time. This album is probably, in its entirety, one of my very, very favorite complete albums ever. There's not a bad song on it. Everything fits together so beautifully and so perfectly. And the continuity of this album truly, truly will knock you off your feet. It is breathtaking at every turn. It feels much more like a film, like a cinematic film, rather than just a collection of songs. And that's one thing that really draws me to Of Monsters and Men in general. They never, ever, ever just sing songs. They always create art. And so if you appreciate art in any form, of Monsters and Men is for you, because the artistic value of it is just inexpressible. This album focuses on themes of like humanity and what it means to be a human, especially in terms of it likes to kind of equate nature, like plants and nature, with like animalistic tendencies, and then trying to find the balance of humanity somewhere in that. So this is kind of a journey of self-discovery of being a human and our human instincts, our human nature, our human potential, and all of everything that entails. And it's so poetic and beautiful, and the imagery is just breathtaking. Another great thing about this album, by the way, is that I think all of them now, if not all of them, almost all of them, the band has slowly put out these lyric videos where they hire actors to come and lip sync these songs. And these videos are so beautiful and so amazing. It is very rare for me because I'm very musically inclined. I'm not as visual of a person. It's very, very rare that I see a video and it changes my mind about a song. But these videos are so beautiful. Probably like at least half of them. When I saw the video, it changed my mind about the song. Not that like I liked it, now I don't like it, or I didn't like it, now I like it. But just, it gives you such insight into just an alternate perspective. And so I would highly, highly, highly recommend watching all of those lyric videos if you don't have it already. They got brilliant, amazing actors that really help to portray this narrative as well. The first song, Crystals. I see this album kind of as a film playing through my head, just cinematic artistry. And so the first track, it feels like someone falling from the heavens, and kind of in a less fantastical way, we would say, just someone being born and coming into their human body and identifying that. But this one is obviously, everything about this is fantastical and otherworldly and beautiful. So this seems like a song that's falling from the heavens to the earth and kind of starting to cope with that, coping with the idea of you used to be a part of a higher plane and now it's coming to terms with mortality and that whole thing. And the main refrain of this, cover your crystal eyes, I love that's such a beautiful phrase and such a beautiful expression. I know a lot of people have equated this song with like a drug addiction, and I can totally see that interpretation. I'm going to share with you like an alternate. All of these are just just a little smidgen of some of my thoughts. And these songs are so beautifully poetic that they can be taken any number of ways. I'm just hoping to kind of give you an alternate perspective and throw out some of my thoughts and ideas. Cover your crystal eyes. So crystals don't absorb light. They reflect light. And so in this world, if you're trying to discern something, and if you have crystal eyes, that's not going to go very well. They don't absorb. So that's not a good way to understand things. So they're saying, cover your crystal eyes and let the tones tremble down your spine. So they're saying, listen to the music. The music is more indicative of this world than what you see. And I think that as someone who is heavily obsessed with music, and not as visual, that's such a beautiful thing that resonates with me, is don't always trust the world that you see with your eyes, but listen to the music and let us tell you about the world and how we feel about the world and how the world feels to you. So you kind of get this concept of this pure heavenly being that now is in a more fallen place. And the instinct of someone who is pure or defenseless might be to cover up, to put a shield on, but this is saying peel away the bark, because you can't grow if it's blocking you. If you're just stuck in the shadows trying to protect yourself, then you'll never grow into who you're supposed to be. So it's coming down to earth, but then also standing in the sun and not to be afraid of it. Human. So the second track kind of starts to explore humanity and the ideals that drive humanity, but also the pitfalls that drive humanity. And so you kind of get this sense of, I think of it as the same character that has fallen from the heavens. So it's somebody that is destined for greatness but has fallen. And so it talks about the crown with gems and gold, and they try to capture that person and enslave them so that they can take the throne. And it's kind of the human nature of trying to take someone down so that you can take their place and come above them. And then it says, eat me like a cannibal, and it's just the animalistic survival of the fittest, or the negative. We call it human instinct, and this song is really exploring, is that human? Are humans supposed to be animalistic, or are they more than that? Can they ascend to the throne without descending? So when humans find something of great worth, and especially maybe something that has power to threaten them, we tend to try to keep it in a cage and contain it and own it or be above it somehow. And so this song is cage me like an animal, eat me like a cannibal. And so it's talking about just the whole idea of survival of the fittest. And obviously the intention is to try to provoke how reprehensible that is. And then it's just breathe in, breathe out, let the human in. Or in other words, you don't have to rely on that animalistic instinct all the time. Your humanity can be so much more than that. It's what we call civilization. And then going even deeper, that was not supposed to be a pun. Going even deeper, plants awoke. They slowly grow beneath the skin. And that's where we get the title track from, obviously, but it's kind of talking about some kind of spark of inherent in humanity that's something higher than animalism. And so you kind of have to figure out where humanity lies in that. We have these animalistic instincts to try like it's a dog eat dog world and to try to survive and rise to the top. And then you have this sense of pure growth and life, maybe a spark of life inherent in humanity. That's all of our desires and our deference to do good. Deference as in defer. I have a hard time enunciating words. I should work on that. The natural human tendency towards goodness and towards light. And so this album is introducing that theme partially and also just walking straight down the path of that line and kind of pondering animalism, nature, life, what is humanity, what does it mean to be a human? Hunger. This is probably my very, 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 very favorite track on the album. It's such a beautiful, innocent expression of humanity. So this song, we kind of had the last track that was talking about finding humanity and animalism and nature and all of those things, and that one almost seemed to wholeheartedly reject the concept of the survival of the fittest. And then this song, Hunger, is about, the constant need. In order for me to live, something else has to die, right? We ingest death, and that gives us life for a short period of time. Everything, whether you're a vegetarian or a vegan or whatever, it's plants. It's something that was alive at some point that is now dead, and because of that, you can live for a little bit longer. And so this is kind of a lament of that, a lament of humanity and the cost of humanity. It's admitting that desire for that lust for life and that inherent instinct to live and to survive and to go after what you want, even at the cost of something else. But then talking about how that's okay and that's a part of humanity. So you're hungry for the kill, but the hunger isn't you. So as long as you don't let that vicious inherent drive overwhelm you or define you, and that's still a part of your humanity. So this is just a really beautiful artistic and poetic expression of some really quite deep thoughts and meanings, but yet at the same time, it's a thought that, I've had since I was 3 or 4 years old. It's simple enough for a child to understand and to ponder on, but complex enough that you may be pondering about it for the rest of your life. And so this is about the human drive for survival and for life, and how to let that drive you without letting it own you, without being a slave to it. Wolves without teeth. You can obviously see it. This continues the narrative. But before we go there, of Monsters of Men, one of the great things about them is that they have a female vocalist and a male vocalist. A lot of bands have one or the other, but it's great that they have both. And this track is kind of the first conversation track where you get a lot of back and forth between them, whereas before it had kind of been one or the other. This one is the first kind of a conversation. And this one is from the other side of the last track when it's talking about feeling that hunger. This is talking about running away, and you feel the wolf without teeth kind of biting at your ankles, and how that lights a fire under you. And this is largely about experiencing humanity with another person. It talks about, I'll be the blood if you'll be the bones. And to me, the concept of wolves without teeth is a direct relation from the last song about the hunger, how it's someone who has that survival instinct and that lust for life, and they're going after what they want, but without teeth is without malice, not someone who's vicious or evil, but just somebody who pushes you and who lights that fire of humanity under you, and you challenge one another. And this is kind of the experiencing that humanity together, and it talks about that discovery of what it's like to be human, but also what it's like to be human in connection with other humans. And this is a really, really interesting take on the whole thing. Next, you get Empire, which is one of my absolute favorite songs on this track. This one is so beautiful. So heretofore, we've kind of been born into the human experience, and then we've kind of explored sides of animals and nature and humanity and what this all means. And then for the two tracks, we've been talking about the animalistic side of humanity, and now we're kind of turning more to nature to see if that holds any more answers for us as we build civilization. And so this has a lot of really beautiful imagery, looking to nature in order to ascend the world of animalism and base survival. And so we look at this world, it has endured however long it has, and we look to nature in order to inspire us to become more than other animals. That's been a theme of many works of literature and art about what separates man from animals, and there are so many different ideas. I won't go too heavily into that, but this one, I love it. It looks to nature for guidance as something that has been here and has been the empire, and now as humans building an empire, what can we do to keep that strength? And the main refrain, heavy stones fear no weather. A lasting empire and an enduring empire, one that is not subject to change, like the animal, which wolf is at the top of the pack, is very turbulent as far as an economy, whereas nature is slow and steady and enduring. And so this is, speaking of humanity, a river running wild that will create an empire for two. And so it's the part of humanity that is long lasting and is sustainable and looks to the future and is maybe wise. That takes us to Slow Life, of course, because this album has the most ridiculous continuity of anything that I have ever seen. And so this album, Slow Life, is about kind of a human in the world of nature. Feels like everything else is moving so slowly, and you kind of feel a little sense of being out of place. So you have this great empire and this inspiration to build your own empire, but you still feel a little out of place. And then the refrain in the chorus, of course, is red in tooth and red in claw. Of course it is. Because the monsters of men are evil geniuses. So this again references the shared experience of humanity. You caught me in the tide and I caught you. And so of course it's a joke on the phrase, to say I caught you red-handed would denote a stronger sense of humanity. And this, obviously, catching someone red-handed, you caught them doing something wrong, presumably. So it's talking about the negative animalistic side of humanity. So red in claw, red in tooth and red in claw. Or in other words, it's like, I saw that where we talked about hunger, constant need. In order to survive, you have to overcome other life. So it's talking about, red in tooth obviously denotes that hunger again, and then red in claw is the caught you red-handed. But what's evil about that is that it would have rhymed if they had said red in claw and red in tooth. But they purposefully switched it all around so that you would feel out of place, which is exactly what the song is talking about. And it's so rude. It's genius, but it's so mean. There was this songbook one time. It was like a Les Mis songbook, and it was there's a castle on a cloud, and it was like, there is a room that's full of toys. There are 100 boys and girls, and it made me so upset every single time. And so then my brothers thought it was hilarious to start switching the end of lyrics so that it didn't rhyme anymore, so that you knew it was going to rhyme, but then just switch the last two things. And it was evil, and that's exactly what this song did. You caught me in the tide, and I caught you, sheltered by the night, red in tooth and red in claw. When it should say red in claw and red in tooth, then it would have rhymed there, but it purposefully forced the rhyme early so that you're left hanging out like, and feel uncomfortable about it, which was very genius, and it makes me sad. Not actually. Okay, organs. Wow. The poetry of this. This song honestly should be my favorite. It isn't, because there are some other things that I personally connect with more intellectually, but emotionally and poetically, this song has no equal. It is almost frightening to behold the depth of the honesty and the vulnerability. And every time I hear this song, it kind of takes my breath away, and it kind of blows my mind that this song even exists. Like, there is a human that is honest enough and vulnerable enough and open enough to put this down, these thoughts and feelings, to put this into words, and it's breathtaking. So this is just such an innocent lamentation of the frustrations of trying to project to the world what is within. And so this is kind of going to another struggle of humanity. Every person, obviously, you know who you are, but what we project to the world is so distorted by what others see, right? Because that goes back to the crystal eyes again. But so this is just a lament of like trying to express yourself and trying to be yourself, but what you feel you are isn't what happens externally. And so this is just a heartbreaking lament of that, and even an apology. Like, sorry, I suppose. Kind of just at a loss of what more you can do. And so this is talking about, the chorus goes through, I take off my face because it reminds me how it all went wrong. I pull out my tongue, it reminds me how it all went wrong. I look wrong, I never say the right things. So it's talking about how humanity, the outside visage of our humanity, is not an accurate portrayal of what's within. And then you start to go to the organs. I pull out my lungs. That's talking about she couldn't breathe earlier, calling back to that. But the last thing, I leave in my heart because I don't want to be alone. So in this world, no matter how lonely and cold and distorted everything is, she knows herself. At least if the world can't see her, internally in her heart is her identity. And if she takes that out, she'll have nothing left. It's such a beautiful heartbreak. Blackwater. This track, to me, starts to see the acceptance of humanity and, okay, I'm ready, I can take this on. And also this, especially in the lyric video, the woman does a beautiful, beautiful job. This kind of, to me, feels like a baptism of darkness. This is not going to get religious, but it is going to get literary, so stick with me or skip ahead if you want. So biblically, you have, it mentions the baptism of water and the baptism of fire. So if they are to be compared, the baptism of water is in fact a baptism of darkness being plunged down into the depths before being raised up again. And this song is very much evocative of that, obviously even in the track Black Water, but it's also the sense of accepting that, of accepting being plunged into the sea in order to rise again, and kind of a faith, and I don't mean faith religiously, a faith in yourself, an understanding that, okay, I can do it and I can overcome it and it will be worth it. And so one of the biggest turning points in the album to me is I'm ready to suffer the sea. Also, as a part of that preparation, maybe the causality of that preparation also refers back to the previous track. I see myself through someone else, and that gives the strength. Thousand Eyes. This track is very powerful. I am not going to lie to you, the lyric video thoroughly creeped me out in a very good way. That actor is brilliant, and he terrified me. So this one is one of the ones that really surprised me. So it starts out, you kind of get the sense of somebody lying awake in bed at night and just contemplating the heartbreak of this world and everything that's wrong in the world and just trying to make peace with it and understanding. And they see all of these tragedies watching them. It feels like 1,000 eyes. And so then you're thinking, what do I do? What can I do? What, as a part of humanity, as one human, what can I do? And then so it comes to, I'll be the calm. I'll sit here and I'll wait and I'll endure. And then it says, no, I'll be the stone. I'll be the hunter, the tower that casts the shade. So it goes from the predicate to being the object. Rather than just being peaceful and waiting it out and enduring, it's taking some of that power, but in a predatory way. It's almost a defense mechanism, or the fear of having things happen to you. So it then becomes a preemptive strike. I'll take the power and the control out of fear. There's gonna be this uprising. So at first it went towards the plant-like nature approach of just slow and calm and enduring. And then it thinks, no, I'll be the hunter, going to the animalistic side of predator and prey. And then comes this crazy thing. So it's this whole time contemplating the storm, and then what happens is it starts out as just almost an innocent in confused contemplation. It almost feels like a prayer to the universe. And then there's the usurping of power from the universe. From undo this storm, it started out as a plea, undo this storm, and then it evolved into I am the storm, which is a scary progression, but it's the exploration of maybe how evil grows and is born. And it comes from a place of fear. I went Yoda on you. That was an accident. I'm sorry. Yoda. So what starts out as a plea to help resolve the chaos and to reign peace turns into you becoming the chaos. From undo the storm to I am the storm. So wait. It's very menacing. So next you get Eye of the Storm. They love playing on the previous tracks, and it's such a beautifully cohesive narrative. So you get Eye of the Storm, and it almost feels like a battlefield drum march, and it feels like marching to judgment, and the fear and insecurity that accompanies that. And it's kind of like a reflection back on, I think, everything since the first track, when it's, talking about coming into humanity and everything, and it's all of those same fears and insecurities, like I'm not ready to face that. And it's also talking about feeling like an alien in a foreign structure, and that also references, all of these tracks really, but organs about your internal not reflecting the exterior of you. And this is just really facing the eye of the storm, where the last track was becoming the storm. This is what part am I in the storm, and how do I face that? And also, what is my identity? Is my identity inherently connected with this body of humanity, or do I have an identity that's separate from this body? And is that part of humanity, or is humanity entirely different? And so this faces and explores a lot of those questions beautifully and thankfully without answering them, because that leads you to be able to come up with your own interpretations about how you feel about all of that. We sink. So one of the main themes of the last one was they call me under, and now this is we sink. So this is kind of the resolution of that. And this whole album, I'm like, where are they going to go next? How do you top this? How do you top this? And then by the end of it, I'm thinking, how are you possibly going to resolve this? And then they come out with the most beautiful thing I've ever could have conceived of, and it's just so perfect. And this track really seems to find peace within that fusion of body and spirit that it feels like we've been kind of going through, talking about the struggle of that since the first track. It seems like they've always been at odds and at battle. And this finally sees, I think, a unity and a sense of peace of that. And then the chorus, so beautiful. So first of all, you have the comparison of the sleepers and the dreamers. So it's saying, we are the sleepers, we bite our tongues. So obviously that denotes, like a sleeper agent, or somebody that has potential, has all of the training, all of the knowledge, all of the skills to accomplish their mission, but it has not been activated yet. So we're the sleepers. We have all of the potential, all of the innate ability, all of the training, all of the knowledge, everything to accomplish something, some amazing mission that needs to happen, but we just haven't been activated yet. So that speaks of our human potential. And then they are the dreamers. They say, come on, let's go. And so to think, taking that even a step further, there's even more. Besides just being asleep, then there are dreams. And so it takes it into even another realm beyond anything that we've even discovered. And it's just a beautiful metaphor that speaks so brilliantly of human potential and humanity. And it also calls back to a lot of the tracks through a lot of the themes that we've explored heretofore. This album is so beautifully poetic and artistic. Any of my tiny little baby thoughts did not do it justice at all, so you for sure need to listen to this album. And if you don't own it and you're a vinyl collector, then you're doing it wrong. Like, you need this album. It's amazing. Hungry for the kill, this hunger, it is in you. Voices disappear when you're speaking in somber tunes. I will be the wife, and when you're starving, you'll need it soon. Hungry for the kill, this hunger, more time with feeling. Let's see what key my voice sings today. I just want you to know that you can't see it that far. I'm sitting like I'm playing the sitar. Like, I'm sitting like this, so, in case you're wondering. That happened. I'm falling. Okay. Oh, I fell. Hunger for kill. But, oh, I lied to you. I was about to lie to you. That would have been awkward. Aw, that's adorable. I feel like there's somebody lurking outside of my bedroom. Do you have something that you wanted to say?
Yeah.
What did you want to say?
Oh, there's me in it.
Yeah, there's you in it. Did you hear me talking about music?
Yeah.
What's your favorite record?
That one.
What's the band that sings this? What's your favorite thing about this record?
It's kind of gray.
It's kind of gray, huh?
Gray's my favorite color, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I like this kind of gray one.
This kind of gray one? What's your favorite band to listen to?
I like this one.
You like this one?
I like it better than Young the Giant.
You like this one better than Young the Giant?
Yeah.
Oh, snap. Unequatable. Did that make sense? Yeah, we'll say that. Oh, one thing but I don't think that's a word that people normally use. So instead I'll use, what's a word that normal people use? What am I trying to say? Well, we won't talk about me. And so, it talks about this album is ridiculously, this album is absolutely perfectly, what is that word? I said paw, that was weird, I don't know. There is a castle on, no, wait, it was like Caillou. If it's to be,